What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Mark Breland. Mark Breland issues a statement on Deontay Wilder's riff. He says Deontay had become untrainable. Wow. You know, lately these guys have went back and forth on their recent interviews about how they felt about each other and the accusations against Mark Breland and Mark Breland's statements of his experience with Deontay Wilder. And this is what Mark Breland has to say. Now stay tuned, okay? He says, now you can call this the official Mark Breland speaks. I've had enough. I'm going to say some things that were reserved for my autobiography, still by the book. There's so much more. I'm going to add a couple picks. One a quote from a Daily's news reporter where he says, Mr. Breland is usually quiet unless it's something that he's passionate about. So, true, and this is one subject that has me passionate. Actually, beyond passion. That's what he had to say. He says, I'm not giving nobody this interview. I'll use it on my own platform since I've been open like a can of sardines anyway on the last podcast I was on. I was like, damn, they couldn't even wait till the next show to ask me about what went on. I went on that show following the request with them for no Deontay talk. But when you've been holding on to something for so long and you're pissed off about it, it obviously anyone can push your buttons and all kinds of shit may come out. But that's not the environment that I would have chose to speak on. Let me stop there. Okay. It comes off as Mark Breland speaking his piece, but he's actually trying to clear up some things that happened or how he felt that how he should have responded. And he says that they didn't wait, and it was basically like they manipulated him or pushed his buttons to get the right information out of him because he was pissed. Let me counterpunch Mark Breland. First of all, no, they did not. Because I looked at that whole interview at no time where he felt uncomfortable about saying anything that they asked him. Counterpunch. So stop. Okay? Pushing your buttons. They didn't have to push your buttons too long to ask questions that you had no problems answering. Okay? So don't say that, oh, I wouldn't, they bombarded me with this Deontay talk and they didn't even wait. No. You wanted to talk about something because you was pissed off about it. So say it how it really is. Don't hide behind the fact that they asked you questions because, again, he didn't have to answer those questions if he didn't want to. But I'm glad that he did because it cleared up all the bullshit. It cleared up the fact that, hey, guess what? He has no problems answering these questions. Okay, he spoke freely and spoke his mind without any type of censorship. Okay, he did those type of things on that show. But for him to apologize about it, why the fuck are you apologizing about it? They didn't press your buttons like that. You had every choice in the matter to answer or not answer, and he answered. And he went on and on and on and on. So obviously, yes, he was pissed off about the situation. So we have to go there. Okay, had to address that. So let's move forward. He says, so here's Mark's take. Anyone who thinks that I meant that I can beat AJ or Deontay's opponents now at the age of 57 doesn't require a response. At my age, the only fight that I'll be is for the one for my life. Okay. He says, I ain't getting hit no more. I've had many share of fights as a fighter with a little experience. I'm speaking on what I see. I stand by my words that the skill set and boxing IQ I see on AJ and many other fighters that my former fighter fought would not get past a few rounds with me if we were in the same era and the same weight class, obviously. Okay. Now, that cleared that up about the Anthony Joshua thing. I can knock them out, but obviously my audience, the people that read it, you know, based on the comments, understood what he meant. I mean, how else would he took that? Okay. But anyway, just for sake of argument, he had to clear that up. Okay, so let's move forward on this. He says, as far as Deontay Wilder is done and I'm done, I meant with each other. I don't have no idea of what and where the man's career is going, and I'm not interested in trying to predict his career. The facts are that my time in the coaching position with the Bronze Bomber changed drastically in the 12 years since I started with him. When he turned pro, JD's called me and humbly stated that he needed a trainer for a great prospect that he had in his gym. Okay, so to clear things up in that regard, JD's called him. Okay, JD's called him and he needed help. Okay, so let's see why he needed help. He says, boxing goes like this. You walk into my gym, I train you. I found you, and sometimes I manage you too. So JD's seen as the head trainer, quote unquote, in the media, but I was the one on the team with the boxing resume. I was the only trainer. Stop there. Stop there. He was the only trainer qualified. Like I've been telling you guys, like you guys that listen to my videos day in and day out. Okay, you would know more than anything. I've been saying this shit. Mark Breland is the only guy that knows what the fuck he's doing. So as he's the guy that knows what the fuck he's doing, he's the guy that calls the shots. He's the guy that been in there taking the punches. He knows how to train. He knows how to fight. He's been in that experience, not JD's. Okay, so to counterpunch that, to come back to the fight that he lost, how in the fuck JD's is supposed to be qualified to stop a fight when he's never been in the ring before? Counterpunch. How is he going to know any type of experience? How is he going to know how much fight or how much punishment that that he should take before stopping the fight? After I've already talked about stopping the fight. So when you know when a fighter's or trainer's talking about stopping the fight, there's things that happen in the ring that required him to think so. Why? Because he has the boxing knowledge and the experience to know my fighter's getting hit way more than I want him to, and he's my fighter. Because I train him, because I am a trainer, and I am a legitimate fighter, or was a legitimate fighter. Okay? So let's stop there with the bullshit. This is clearing it all up. This is beautiful, because this is the type of intel that everybody wants to hear and see and understand about Mark Breland and his position. Let's move forward. He said, that was okay with me because of my humility. I didn't have to be the one in front of the camera. I've lived that life. He said after Deontay became a name in boxing, new members did join the team and got to the point where don't even have my fighter's phone number. I haven't spoke to Deontay alone in years. The things that I told Deontay to do had to be ran past Jay. See what I'm saying? That means he couldn't train the fighter like he was hired to fucking train the fighter. Let's move forward. Deontay had became untrainable because he was at the point of he know more about boxing than all of us. So teaching a correct jab was not a priority to learn once he continued on his knockout streak. Let me stop there. This is what I'm talking about. Everything that Mark Breland is saying is backed up by facts and things that Deontay Wilder, consistency with what Deontay Wilder has said. How do I mean? One, Lennox Lewis had to teach this motherfucker how to throw a jab properly like 6 years ago. Right? Wasn't he a champ at that time? Maybe, maybe not. Around the same, whatever time that happened. But he's supposed to know how to throw a proper jab. But of course, he listened to Lennox Lewis because he's the great Lennox Lewis. You remember he was like, I'm going to throw the jab. Throw the jab. You know what I mean? And he was teaching Deontay Wilder how to throw the jab because obviously he was like, yo, this motherfucker needs work. Counterpunch. Look. You don't need skill when you got knockout power. So basically, this is what this is what we're seeing. He continued his knockout streak. A jab wasn't a priority. So Wilder started smelling himself. Okay, he started smelling himself, and people around him said, man, you're smelling pretty shitty. And he kept thinking, no, I smell pretty damn good. But obviously, Mark Breland didn't think so. Okay, so let's move on. He said, so a coach can only teach someone if they're willing to learn. We only wait for the champ for hours before he arrived at the gym, and Jay would inform us of his mood. If he had a bad day, we had to be quiet to not be on the receiving end of his wrath, according to Jay, in an effort not to be fired. Let me stop there. You guys know, again, how I've imagined that training camp to be. You've heard Deontay Wilder saying, hey, it's a lot of things that I skipped on, which I've read into this and we're going to cover. But this baffles me because this guy did whatever he wanted to do. And like I figured, had Jay to enforce what he did and what he didn't do. Okay, this is exactly what I thought it was. Based on Mark Breland saying he doesn't listen to me. See, him saying stuff like that automatically lets me know that Deontay Wilder didn't like the way Mark Breland responded to certain people when it came to explaining himself and his practices and his training. Okay? He didn't like that. So they might have had words about that. So come on, be quiet. You had to be quiet? What is that? But the counterpunch. That's Jay Diaz's fault. That's JD's fault. Why? Because, that's Mark Breland's fault. Because that comes back to integrity. Okay? You have to have a certain level of integrity being anybody and doing any job. If somebody's trying to get you to do a job and you know that shit's not right, you need to step. Mark Breland should have stepped. Think about what I'm saying. Based on what we have, but based on what I've just read you guys. Let's continue. And yeah, hitting the bag, jumping rope, and running is not high on the list. So if he didn't or he don't feel like it, he and Jay didn't seem to understand the importance of those things. Notice what I said, him and Jay. Jay wanted to let him do whatever the hell he wanted to do. In any given Sunday, he did it. Because Jay allowed it, because he was the head trainer that hired Mark Breland. Therefore, he made sure that everything went the way Deontay Wilder has. Now you guys understand why the reason that he kept JD's along. Because JD's let him do what the fuck he wanted to do. And if this is the case, he's going to always let him do what he wants to do. But anyway, so he would make it clear not to ask Deontay Wilder twice. If I tried to pull Deontay to the side and tell him what I see, Jay made it clear, don't say nothing you don't want to make him mad. I've watched this man, Deontay, speak to many people disrespectfully, and although I'm extremely humble and calm, I'm a man first. Wow. They run that gym like a fucking cult. Now I do understand why certain cult channels like this particular guy. He's surrounded by yes men. He has this one trainer / manager to tell other people in the camp what to do. This motherfucker's sabotaging himself. Because he's never going to get better at this particular sport if this is the way it's going to be ran. And I don't see anything different. The only difference is they got rid of the one guy that knows what the hell he was doing. And this shows it right here. This is the first volume of this, man. I think this is some great stuff. It's getting lengthy, but I want to cover it all. So I am going to stop here and add another volume to this particular issue to continue the letter by Mark Breland. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this segment of this particular saga. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.